Hey guys, welcome back to the Orange Couch. Excited to have you here with us today. We're glad you're tuning in and using this resource for your ministry. This is a little bit new. As you know, I'm the student pastor here at Believers Church, and so what we've decided to do is start offering resources for people that hopefully will be helpful for them. And one of the ideas that we had the other day was, let's get some guys in here who really have some good wisdom when it comes to student ministry. Guys that can really help us out in areas that some of us are just really not sure about. You know, how do I walk about this in my ministry to be most effective and most successful? And I have found that oftentimes when I'm sitting with other youth pastors at restaurants or coffee shops, some really great conversation happens. So we thought, let's just recreate that here on the Orange Couch. And so what I've done today is invited my friend Daniel Anderson. He's from here in Douglasville. He's at the First Baptist in Lithia Springs. Well, technically Lithia Springs, but right here in the Douglasville area. And I wanted to invite him to come over today. So, Daniel, thanks for coming to the Orange Couch, man. We're happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, good.
Excited about it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for youth pastors. Being a youth pastor for 18 years, I'd love to have had something like
Exactly.
this.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, and I've only been in it for 6, but I know just even in the first couple of years being a youth pastor, going to seminary, right? Got educated at seminary. But when I came out, I had really no practical sense on what to do. You know, how do I stay communicated with my parents? How do I, you know, communicate a vision? How do I mean, all these kinds of things that you would have expected for youth pastors to learn in seminary. Most of the stuff we had was just, you know, who wrote the book of John, and, you know, I mean, like that. I mean,
it's a lot of information on this is how it should work in a perfect world, but none of us do ministry in a perfect world.
Right, exactly. And now, you know, you bring that up, and that really kind of is a good transition for us to hit our topic today, because when I, you know, talked to Daniel and said, you know, let's get together again, let's talk, what's been probably one of the most hairy things for me in student ministry has probably been my relationship with parents. Yeah, no pun intended. I'm trying out next year for Duck Dynasty. That's my secret. Has been my relationship with parents, you know, and almost kind of like Calvinism, Arminianism, God's responsibility, our responsibility. There seems to be almost that amount of tension when it comes to what. Here's what I'm finding, that everybody has a different expectation of a youth pastor, and you have to really define that before you can actually, you know, effectively be a minister to somebody in a parental sense, you know, as far as the parents of the kids we have in our youth groups. And some people just expect them to be the babysitter, and some people expect them to be the pope, and it's like this huge, you know, spectrum, and where's that balance? But I mean, that's really the question I think that a lot of youth pastors want answered, is like, what is the youth pastor's responsibility versus the parent's responsibility in the spiritual development of teenagers? So, and what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you've been a youth minister for, what did you say, 18 years?
18 years. Okay,
just lay it on us, man.
Well, I mean, the question you're asking is probably one of the most vital questions I think that is in the world of youth ministry right now. In fact, you can now begin finding materials on the whole family unit about how parents are involved or not involved. There are all kinds of reports and things that are being made, surveys about how invested or how involved are parents when it comes to their spiritual development. And the problem is, it is almost nil and almost void about parent involvement in discipleship of their students. And they've taken the approach of, let me take them to the soccer coach, let me take them to the football coach, let me take them to the baseball coach, and let them produce a professional athlete out of them.
Right.
And they've done the same thing with the youth pastor. Well, let me bring them to the youth pastor so they can be a professional grown-up Christian one day.
Right.
And the problem is, nowhere in Scripture will you find youth pastors teach the children. Youth pastors disciple the young people. Youth pastors, you're responsible for those things.
Right.
But over and over again, whether you're looking in Proverbs, whether you're looking at Deuteronomy, whether you're looking in Psalms, whether you're looking in, you know, Corinthians and Ephesians, over and over and over again, the charge is given to the parents.
I mean, Deuteronomy 6.
Deuteronomy 6.
Write the law of the Lord on the hearts of your children.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, get Jesus in their hearts, you know, and they're trying to get him outside.
Well, here's, okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble right now.
Okay.
You know, when youth pastors share this with parents, because here's part of the problem. I think the parents aren't confident in their own walk. Because if you look at that Deuteronomy 6, it says, believe these, be obedient to me, and then pass them on.
Oh, yeah. Talk about them.
Talk about them as you are going,
Lie
meaning
down.
part
Lie
of your
up.
life.
Yeah.
When you're lying down, when you're standing up, meaning that they are a part of their life.
Exactly
and that's
right.
hard. That's hard to make that a personal walk. I am a youth pastor, as you said, for 18 years, but I've been a parent for 13. My daughter was born. She's been in church all her life, and a few years back, she's 8th grade now, but she was in 5th grade, and she said, "Hey, Daddy, I'm going to be in youth group next year." And I said, "No, you are."
Yeah.
And then God just used that moment right there to convict me. Because here I am, the youth pastor, thinking my parents that are bringing up kids should be doing this in their children's life. And I looked and I said, I am 100% guilty of the very same thing.
Wow.
Here I have a 5th grader that is not practicing a personal walk with Christ, a personal Bible study. And I have not been challenging to do so. Well, that conviction turned into a change, and I produced an opportunity for my daughter to start doing a Bible study every morning. And then I thought, you know what, my son's only a few years younger than him, or than her. I don't want to get in the same situation.
Sure.
So we began an entire family Bible study, and, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I'll tell you, I believe this is something missing in the families.
Absolutely.
Is that we get up every morning, we gather around our living room area, and we each have our own personal Bible study, but we are challenged and kept accountable to each other, because it's not have you done it, it's let's do it.
Well, I love what you said a second ago. The idea that only a disciple can make a disciple.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we expect our teenagers to be disciples unless their parents are disciples? And God can do that. He can radically change teenagers' hearts. You have teens who come, and they'll come solo. They'll ride with friends, and they'll do things like that. But at the same time, disciples make disciples. And the most effective ministry is going to happen whenever we're not only resourcing teenagers, but I love what you're saying, that we start resourcing parents. Because I think what you said, that word confident, they're not confident. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing that I think I find when I'm talking with parents. They don't know what to do. Why? Right. Because they weren't taught
Because they
either.
weren't discipled either.
Exactly. So to me, whenever I start having this conversation with people, I think one of the biggest things that's missing from a youth pastor's vision about how he's going to be a pastor to a congregation of people, not just the students, but the parents as well, is resourcing. How is that guy in his vision, or that gal in their vision, begun to really say, God, how do I resource parents? Mm-hmm. How do I help parents do what you did with your kids?
Well, one of the things is help them realize it is their responsibility. Part of the reasons why parents don't take the responsibility is because we as youth pastors have accepted that responsibility. And the churches have expected that out of us. Here's the problem. 40 years ago is when youth ministry really started this experiment of getting a dynamic individual who can play the guitar and order pizza and can draw a crowd.
Sure.
That's the typical idea of what a youth pastor looks like. He has to be a forever 25.
I'm 25.
He has to be married at least 10 years. Has a parent himself, been 10, 12 years on the mission field. And there's
awesome.
There's this unrealistic idea of what a youth pastor should look
Sure.
like. They would get these individuals that were a dynamic that could draw a crowd, but there was no spiritual development in them. And it was because they were drawing a crowd, but they weren't really given the ability to the people that had the most influence. There's a couple groups that have done some studies recently. USA Today did a study and said that people 13 to 24, when asked who is the most influential person in their life, 70% said their parents.
Wow.
Okay, so if their parents are the most influential people in their life, why is it the youth pastors are threatened by the parent, right, and we try to keep them out of the youth ministry?
Exactly.
I think it's because, here I'm going to get in trouble again.
Lay it down.
All right, sorry guys. Youth pastors aren't prepared.
Yeah.
They're not planning, and they don't have a purpose of what they're trying to do.
Right.
Okay, that's hard.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to play games. It's easy to order pizza. It's easy to throw together devotion. But if you don't have a direction of where you want to go, then you're really not taking them anywhere.
So do this. Give whoever's watching, whether it's a guy or gal, maybe they've been in youth ministry for a couple of years. Maybe they've got, a pastor. They may be in a few scenarios. Maybe they're blessed and they have a pastor who has the same vision you have. But let's say they're even at a church that has those unrealistic expectations on them. How do they take some practical steps? Let's make it practical now. How do they take some practical steps of not only changing the expectation the church has on them, but also what are some practical things they can do and put in the hands of parents or do with parents to begin to see this change within our churches?
Well, first of all, look in Scripture and tell me where youth pastors mentioned. You won't.
Right.
Okay, I mentioned that. However, you will find places like in Luke chapter 1 where Jesus is talking about John the Baptist, and he says he'll come as the prophet, turning the hearts of the father towards their children.
Right.
I think that's probably one of the best scriptures in reference to what youth ministry should look like than anything else, because our job, if we're going to be long-lasting, if we're going to be successful in what we do, then we need to begin turning the hearts of the fathers towards their children, helping the parents be in line with who their kid is. But the first thing, if a youth pastor is struggling with this, how do I change the paradigm? How do I change the idea? You've got to have your pastor on board.
Yeah.
You need to help cast the vision. Maybe you take a look at a census of where are the students of the past of your church. Take a look at it in general. 75% of students when they graduate high school are leaving the faith. We can say, yippee, we're getting 30% back when they turn in their 30s and start having kids. I don't know of another industry or another organization in this world that's okay with a 40 to 60% loss.
Right, exactly.
But we are in the church.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. And I think it's because we're not making a true impact in the believer as a student.
Yeah.
So they need to take a look at what are they doing. Are they successful? If it's not successful, then throw it out.
Yeah. Just kill the cow.
Kill the cow and let the pastor, let the people see, this is what we've been doing.
It's not successful.
It's not successful. I've got an idea. Let me show you in Scripture why I believe this will be successful.
Very good.
If it's not based in Scripture, why are we doing it anyway?
Yeah.
All right. But there, I mean, like I said, there's just so many things, secular as well as biblical, that will help us understand what is good youth ministry. What should good youth ministry look like? MTV and the Associated Press both did the study a few years back, and they asked the question of teenagers, "What makes you most happy?" I've asked my several parents and stuff that question. What do you think the answer was? And I heard things from video games, music, movies, their sports,
Sure.
sex. I mean, they're afraid of whatever it might be. But the number one thing was time with family. Followed behind that, time with friends. Followed behind that, time with that significant other, their girlfriend, boyfriend.
Very nice.
All three of those are relational. But yet we think media has their heart, and we're wrong. People have their heart. But we are so distracted with other things that we're not giving ourselves to the people that are most important. I had a professor once tell me, and I've thought about it and looked at it, and I agree 100%, that if we're going to have good, healthy students, we need to have good, healthy parents. And we as youth pastors should be doing 60 to 70% of our ministry to the parents and to the family.
Very nice. Well, dude, I want to thank you for being here on the Orange Couch today. I hope you're taking this stuff to heart. Get your pastor on board. How do you do that? Get your church on board. Put statistics in front of them. Put Bible in front of them. And then begin to really formulate your vision. How do I look at my vision? Does my vision actually include parents? How am I going to resource them? Am I going to be real about the fact they probably don't know what to do? I may have to be very simple, right, very elementary when I'm starting to try to help my parents make more disciples and let them know, man, you said it. It's their responsibility. And we as student pastors are here to help serve them, not just serve these students, but serve our parents to make sure they are resourced as disciples to raise disciples. Dude, I want to thank you so much for being here. Oh, I think we only got a few more minutes, but tell them real quick about your church, what time you guys meet, and when they can come and be a part of Lithia Springs First Baptist.
All right. I'm going to just mention a couple things. We have Sunday school, our Bible study. It happens at 9:15 every Sunday morning, and then also we do a youth program called Frontline at 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights. We have a student-led band. I'll bring a message, and we'll have some icebreakers and have a good time like that. But I want to encourage you, be faithful where you're at, and how can you be a part of the changing of truly a movement to where we see internal change in our students.
Good deal. Well, again, dude, thanks for being on the Arctic Couch today. We appreciate you taking your time, and you're a good dude.
Don't tell no too many people. All right.
Thanks, man.